really the October surprise, especially
Mm.
like, we can talk about this a little bit later, but like with the population in Pennsylvania.
Talking as we come in on the music. Hey, everybody. So we're talking behind the scenes because it's very interesting. Josh, you know Josh Doss. He's my friend. He's a senior pollster at HIT Strategies. Is it HIT or HIT? It's HIT,
It's
right?
hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hit.
And he directs the organization's Economic and Black Voters Department. So, Josh, I'm glad you're here. Let me just set everybody up. Josh and I were talking about this rally at MSG that was, with the derogatory language around Hispanics and Latinos, Puerto Ricans, if this is the October surprise, if this is really going to stick. And it is, there's some information that shows that it is very sticky, and the Trump campaign, they're worried about it, although they're downplaying it. They're trying to pretend to, at least. I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm doing a couple of talks here, a couple of focus groups. And so that's why you're seeing me. You're inside of my hotel. And when was the last time you saw me in a tie? When was the last time you saw me in a tie? It's been quite some time. So I have to do this thing tonight, so I'm a little bit dressed up. So let me just set it up for Josh and I to talk about. Has Harris won black men back? That's a question. Now, we all know voters have been black voters have been long loyal, the backbone to the Democratic Party. But polls this year have shown that some younger black men do not feel the same degree of party loyalty that their mothers or sisters or aunts do, or even that they've once had before. However, that may be changing. Is it due to the outreach from the Harris campaign? The latest NAACP survey of registered voters found that black men under 50 have decreased their likelihood to vote for Trump to 21%, down from 27% in August, and increased their likelihood to vote for Harris to 59%, up from 51%. So thank you very much for that. And for the folks who are joining us on TikTok, thank you very much. Josh, I don't know if you know about TikTok, but they put little funny things on your head and whatever. I'm not sure if you're on. So I love you guys doing that. Once or twice. Are you on TikTok?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok.
You're on TikTok. You're all over the social. Hey, so quickly, before we get to the black man thing, because I know that is what you're here to talk about, but let's talk about something that I think is breaking as well, breaking news. This is from Nate Silver. Statistician Nate Silver has suggested that the negative publicity surrounding former President Donald Trump's New York rally could be good news for Democratic opponent for the White House, Vice President Kamala Harris. His Sunday rally in New York's Madison Square Garden drew headlines following this controversial remarks made by comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, which is, Kill Tony, a host of the podcast Kill Tony, who is known for his roast-style comedy. Anyway, it is showing that folks are saying, hey, this is messed up, man. And they're not really into it, even though they're downplaying it, saying it's just a joke, meaning on the Trump MAGA side. What say you, Mr. Pollster, Mr. Focus Group?
I think that it was a big mistake by the Trump campaign. I don't think that you need to be a pollster or political strategist to see that. I think, especially with how many Puerto Rican voters are in swing states, or just like generally in America.
100,000 in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the goal here is to not release rhetoric like that in general. But if you're just talking about winning a campaign, it is also deeply not strategic for you to do that. And that's why you saw the Trump campaign try to walk it back as quickly as they could. And I don't think they'll be able to. I don't know if they have the time to do it.
You don't think? Oh, wow. I was watching our friends over at Pod Save America, and they were saying each day that this goes on, they're losing a day, and every single day or hour is critical at this point.
Absolutely. And, I saw somebody tweet, he's a big Puerto Rican Trump supporter. And his tweet was, will you really think that some of us that hate Harris so much are going to turn and vote for her now? You're out of your mind. No, I don't think Trump is going to lose some Puerto Rican voters to Harris. I think that Trump is going to lose some Puerto Rican voters to the couch. I think it's just significantly less likely that they will come out and support him. And so, yeah, I mean, I can see that movement for sure. And I absolutely agree with that sentiment. Every day that it goes on, it's just so much worse for the Trump campaign.
Yeah, there's a radio host who says he is has lots of Latino and Puerto Rican callers, and they're saying, "I can't do it." Do you think that that's real? I know it's anecdotal, but do you think that's real? As they say, sticky, sticky, sticky.
I think it is real, and here's the reason why. We're at that time period where in surveys we have upwards of 79, 80, 81, 82% of people telling us that they've given some or a lot of thought to the election, right? If this would have happened 2 months ago, it would have gone over some folks' head. Early voting has already started.
Yeah.
These are just consequential hours for anybody who's ever ran a campaign, been a campaign manager, done comms on a campaign. I've done all three. It's just this is just not when you want to have something like this popping up.
Josh, I'm here in DC, and I went over to Howard today, and all the kids over at Howard said, obviously they're voting for Donald Trump. Good luck. They said, good luck finding a Trump supporter on this campus, Don. But all just sort of naturally, we talked about some of the things that are in your findings as well, but just naturally, the Puerto Rican thing came up. They were like, in considering the things that they was said in New York this past weekend at Madison Square Garden, blah, blah, blah. And I was surprised that it has penetrated. And another story that has penetrated, and you don't have to discuss it unless you want to, is the burning of ballot boxes. That's penetrating as well. So, Trump hasn't really spoken about the rally this weekend. I think in a press conference that was just shown on cable news, Donald Trump said that Madison Square Garden was an absolute love fest. He also said the exact, and Kamala HQ is now putting it out as well. Kamala HQ saying, if we can get that, can we please get it up? I'll send it to you, producers, but it's on Kamala HQ now. And I would like Joshua to be able to respond to it. I just forwarded it to you. He also said January 6th was a love fest as well. Smart?
not smart. I think you know the answer to that. I mean, look, this like collective amnesia that the Trump team has tried to really pull when it comes to talking about things like January 6th and the insurrection or just like his history. I think I'm comfortable saying by and large it has worked well enough for him to get this far, right? Like it's worked well enough for him to run through the primaries. It's worked well enough for us to have like a election right now that's within the margins. But when things are within the margins, you just have only marginal room, if any, for mistakes. And I just don't believe that this is one that he'll be able to just pull the wool over the eyes and say it was a love fest. By the way, the Kill Tony's remarks weren't the only egregious things said that night. If you watch the rest, I mean, there was a lot of crazy stuff that was said that night. And it was almost like a perfect crescendo, right, to a campaign that has really been fueled by a lot of anger and vitriol for people who just don't look like them, right? And so we...
Uh-oh. Josh went away. What happened to Josh? So Josh went away. We'll see if we can get Josh to dial back in. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Nikki, we're still on, right? Yes.
Yep, we got you. You're still there.
Okay, so we have Josh. So there's Josh. Josh is back. Josh, let me just play this if you can hear us. This is the former president. And by the way, the producer said, we already had this time. We anticipated that you would want it. Here is the former president saying that Madison Square Garden was a love fest, just like he said about January 6th. Here it is.
Anybody has ever seen anything like what happened the other night at Madison Square Garden? The love in that room. It was breathtaking, and you could have filled it many, many times with the people that were unable to get in. But politicians that have been doing this for a long time, 30 and 40 years, said there's never been an event so beautiful. It was like a love fest, an absolute love fest, and it was my honor to be involved. And hopefully, they started to say, well, in 1939, the Nazis used Madison Square Garden. Well, and you know what? But can you imagine it? 1939, the Nazi, they were. But how terrible to say, right? Because, they've used Madison Square Garden many times. Many people have used it, but nobody's ever had a crowd like that. And I tell you what, right now, nobody's ever had love like that. That was love in the room, and it was love for our country. It was really love for our country.
What a terrible, he said, what a terrible thing to say. He did not even address the racist joke, or he didn't even condemn the comedian. They just wanted to go away, correct? Or what do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just wanted to go away. I think that, and look, to be fair, if I was, in another life, some sort of strategist for the Trump team, which I will never be, I would have said not to say anything about it either. He's gotten away with doing that for very long, right? For things being right in front of our face, and then him just telling us is a different story. So it has been a strategy that has worked for him. I'm not surprised that was the route that he took this time around. The question is it just a little bit too much, just a little bit too late into this election?
Yeah. One more thing on this before I move on to the latest polling that you have. So I put something on social media and I said they knew exactly who they were getting. And if they didn't, I believe it's worse because the evidence has been out there. That means they did a terrible job of vetting this comedian. Now, look, if these jokes were on a stage, like a comedy at a comedy club, I may be saying, look, it's a comedian, no big deal, right? Or it was funny or it wasn't, whatever. Choose whatever, pick your own adventure. But you have to read the room, and you have to know that we are in the middle of a very contentious presidential election where it's at a razor's edge. And then this is how you choose to open up. This is who you choose to represent you. So here's some of the evidence. In 2021, fellow comedian Pang Dang accused Hinchcliffe, that was the Kill Tony guy, Tony Hinchcliffe, of using a racial slur against him and making offensive jokes about the Asian American community. Anyone want to go halvesies on a slave? Was from a 2011 Twitter post from that same comedian. Another post read, Josh, 9/11 was the first time Black employees were rewarded for being late to work. Hashtag the burn.
Wow.
Yeah, that's yep. And then there was one that was really, it's also as or worse, I'm not sure, it's kind of in the same realm, about disabled children. I bet the best part of having a retarded child is not having to buy it Christmas gifts. Hashtag do they know it's Christmas? And then he says, nope. So look, he's a roast comedian, but don't you think in their vetting that they would have figured that out? Or do you think that they did this on purpose to reach out to what we call the manosphere? You know what the manosphere is, right? The young sort of white college dude.
Yes. I think that's I mean, he was just on Rogan a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah.
I think that they understand that the only place, I believe, at least in America, where you can have concentrated anger that has the numbers to actually deliver you an election is among white men, right? And unfortunately, we're seeing some of that concentrating even more so among young white men. And so leaning in here in the last days of the election, they have been trying to reach out to that part of the audience or of their constituency. And so, yeah, that's exactly. I've seen Kill Tony on those shows with Shane Gillis and some other folks. They make jokes like that all the time, and they're always trying to push that line. And I think that that's what their intent was. And, it's risky from a strategist standpoint. It's risky. And they ended up on the bad side of that risk.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see what happens with that. But look, that they're worried about it because they're responding. If not, they wouldn't respond. And then, clearly he would not be at a press conference saying, oh, it was a love fest. If he thought he wouldn't, he would just say it was a joke, whatever. I don't care. But they're not doing that. Okay. So let's talk about this. Unlike 2016, unlike 2016, where Democrats lost every swing state, Clinton lost except one this time around. Clinton lost except for one this time around. Democrats are this time around, I should say, Democrats are massively overperforming their standard barrier. Okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. But Josh, walk us through your new data, please, on Black men and whatever you found.
Yeah. So we've been in the field with this poll for a couple months now. What we're doing is we're asking the same questions, the same demographics of Black voters, right? Different respondents to the poll, but the same demographics to kind of see if there was going to be movement in the last 3 months of the election and where there was movement. In wave one and wave two, there was not any movement. We saw Vice President Harris still hanging around that 64% support from Black registered voters. And we saw Donald Trump still kind of gathering the percentage he was gathering. And then just in this last wave, we've just seen a significant increase in the percentage of Black registered voters saying that they're coming out for Kamala. We've seen a decrease in the ones that are saying they're going to come from Trump. But I'd say even more importantly, and this is something folks have been saying for a while, a month ago, 64% of these Black registered voters that intended to vote for Trump also would respond to our survey saying that they are certain that they were going to vote in general.
Wow. Okay. We have a problem with Josh's signal. We'll try to get him back up.
Has dropped to 50.
Josh, we're having a bit of a problem with your signal. If we could just pause for a moment. It's technology, folks.
Josh, could you maybe turn off your camera and then maybe we'll be able to hear you better?
Are you back, Joshua? Okay. Well, let me just again repeat what Josh has said. Josh, let me know when you're back.
I'm
so
back.
Again,
Can you hear me?
You're back and you're better than ever. Okay, so go over your numbers again. What are your numbers?
Okay.
Saying? What are the numbers?
What I am saying is in this survey where we've been tracking Black voters and their opinions in the last 3 months, we hadn't seen much movement. Vice President Harris was hanging around that same 64% support. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. It was hanging around that support. And then just here in this last month, we've seen a dramatic increase in the percentage of Black registered voters saying that they're going to come out for her, going from that percentage up to 71, saying that they're going to support. But this is my favorite stat here, is that a month ago, Black registered voters that were intending to vote for Trump, 64% of them as well responded to our polls saying that they were certain that they were going to vote. Their likelihood was in the category of certainty, right? That percentage has decreased 11 percentage points down to 53%. So they're not even, a lot of them are reconsidering voting at all. The ones that primarily were telling us that they were going to vote for Donald Trump.
Oh, so maybe the issue, like you said, with Latinos or Puerto Ricans is that maybe he's going to lose them to the couch.
And I think that's exactly what we're seeing late in the game here among Black registered voters that were intending to vote for Trump. A lot of them appear to not even be considering the power of their vote being very effective at all.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Very interesting. Okay. So Josh, how do you think Harris won back these Black men? Because it appears she's moving them back. Now, I have to tell you, I was at Howard today. I asked that question, Howard University, which is the alma mater of the vice president. And they said, well, they think people are just, they're finally getting some information. They're educating themselves, or they're being educated, or, they perhaps they just realize they're wrong. Maybe they're coming home as Democrats. I don't know. But the question is it that, or are all these efforts by the campaign, like going on Club Shay Shay, going on to the Black streamers like Charlemagne and Roland and whatever, is that helping, or is it just a combination of all of it?
I think it's definitely a combination of all of it, but I think that there are some things that they did that were particular and deserve being called out. The first is, I would say that the Vice President Harris's campaign has put on a masterclass on how to deal with misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I saw her never do is repeat the misinformation, right? She didn't repeat the claims that she's not Black. She didn't repeat the claims that she locked up thousands of Black men, right? She never repeated it. They addressed it by just using the facts, right? Which is an extremely important thing whenever you're dealing with misinformation, particularly online. I think also her releasing her plan for Black men was significant, because in 120 days, not only did she drop what she wanted to drop as far as these are the things I want to do for Black men, mental health, X, Y, and Z, but it also showed that she's listening, right? She didn't open up her campaign with this plan for Black men, but she surely closed it with her campaign for Black men after Black men said, "What you got for me?" Right? And I think when you do things like that, it becomes very hard to not grab Black male voters that are anywhere in the scale of reasonableness and addressing this election with some type of intellectual consistency.
Interesting. Okay, so listen, if you're on with us, Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you like. It affects the algorithm, as you know, and more people will tune in the more you like our content. Also, I just want to thank Breaking Generational Curse. We like that, Josh, for your generous support of independent media. We really appreciate it. And also for your generous support. Happy says, hello, Lemonation and Lemonheads. Even before Don get it started, I want to relay that I think Donald should be grounded now, because when he loses to Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, he may cause a hit and run type of uproar. Okay. I think she's right in that if he loses, it's going to be fake. It's going to be stolen. It's going to be they cheated, all kinds of things. And it's going to be contested. And, he'll probably declare victory the night of, even if he loses. And then all of his supporters will say that he won and game on. I don't know. Do you think I'm wrong about that, Josh?
I think you're absolutely right. I think that anyone, no matter what side of the aisle you are, should just be preparing for this, because I think that those claims are already baked in.
Yeah.
I will say, I am surprised that he hasn't already been. You know how Trump moves. Usually he starts trying to cause a little bit of doubt before the results have even come out. It doesn't seem that he's doing that as much as I would have expected.
Well, he's claiming that there's, voter fraud or whatever, or some irregularities in some areas. And then, of course, there's always a question of what's going on with these ballot boxes, which I told you people are burning them. And that's there's real concern about that from the college students that I spoke to on campus. They're really worried about that, as they should. But yeah, you're right. I think he's injecting doubt into the ethos, and I think he will continue to inject doubt into the ethos and then pretend like he didn't do it, just like he's pretending on social media to say that he doesn't know this comedian at all, even though this comedian opened up for him. Okay, so let's move on. I want to ask you more about what you know. So this is what I was reading before. Okay, and I want to use this part of your polling, or just part of the polling that's out there. Unlike in 2016, where Democrats lost in every swing state, Clinton lost except one. This time around, Democrats are massively overperforming their standard bearer. And if you look at these numbers that we'll put up now, this is a new Cook Political swing state poll with BSG and GS Strategy Group. Arizona, Harris +2, Gallego +13, right? Georgia +2. Michigan is Harris +3, but Slotkin is +4. Nevada, Harris +1, Rosen is +13. North Carolina, Harris, Trump tied, Stein +24. Pennsylvania, Harris +1, Casey +7. Wisconsin, Harris +2, Baldwin +2. What do you think is behind that? And I hate to ask, is she a drag on, well, perhaps the current president may have been more, because she's closed the gap between her and Trump. But what do you see? What do you read into these numbers?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that she's a drag. I think you're hitting it on the head there. I think that the level of criticism that we can have for folks that are already a part of an administration is just a little bit different than those, state specific candidates that we have. Vice President Harris had 130 days, right, to kind of tell who she was to the American people and to the people in those specific states. And I think that with the amount of time that she has against a candidate that's extremely well defined, like Donald Trump, in every single one of these states, it makes more sense that she's only up 1 or 2 percentage points. I actually think that it's probably a more of a Herculean feat for her to be up only 1 or 2 points in some of these states.
Yeah. So Josh, we're live on a couple of different platforms. We're also live on the TikTok, and we're so glad there's so many people who are tuned in. So Josh, more people get to hear your mellifluous voice, and they got to see your handsome face before, but now you have turned off your camera to help with the bandwidth. So we're joined by Josh Doss, who is a senior pollster at HIT Strategies, and he directs the organization's economic and Black voters department. Let me ask you about this, okay? Now that we've gotten that out of the way. I'm particularly fascinated by this Nevada race, where this Jackie Rosen is up by somewhere between 9 to 13 points over her GOP opponent. Meanwhile, Harris is neck and neck. I mean, what do you think? What is up with that? Isn't her opponent a war hero and she's not really a household name there? How is she up so? How is Jackie Rosen up so much?
I'll be honest, I have not been paying that close attention to this race, with so much of my work being at the very top of the ticket. But I will say it's incredibly important impressive from what I do know about that race and the folks that are working on that race, is that they've been extremely disciplined with their messaging, and have not gone off left or right. And opportunities where from what I've heard, there have been tons of pitfalls that have been set for her, and they've just been disciplined messengers. And a lot of times when it comes to some of these races, that is really what it comes down to, is how disciplined they could be in their messaging. And I've been hearing that they've been doing that.
Yeah. Josh, I don't know if you've seen me taking a sip of this. I'm sure everyone thinks it's champagne. It would be great, but this is the cup that was in the room. It is aloe vera and guava and pomegranate. So a Grenada pomegranate. So don't get, all been out of shape. Yeah, I wish it was. I need it. So Josh, listen, give me some advice. I'm doing a focus group in Washington, D.C. tonight. And I'll tell you some of the folks that are there. And then there's one guy, I cannot remember this Republican guy. He's always like on Fox News, on Sean Hannity. I can't remember. Anyways, he's supposed to be there. Anyway, I'm doing a focus group, and then I'm moderating a talk that happens after the big rally tonight, right? And so it is Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott, Bakari Sellers, Michael Eric Dyson, Gavin Reynolds. I don't know if you know any of these. Eugene Craig, Quentin Jordan, and Antoine Seawright. And so we're doing this big talk tonight, and this is that's all of us there. So anyways, any advice for me, sir, especially considering you've been doing polling and research on this?
Yeah, focus groups are fun. I don't know if you've ever moderated a focus group before. Your job so you know that your job as a moderator is to be impartial. With Tim Scott and Bakari Sellers in the room, I honestly don't know how much time. I can't wait to see those.
No, Michael Eric Dyson. Michael Eric Dyson is the talker.
Yeah, Eric Dyson as well. So I didn't even know that this was going on. This is
there's a focus group that I have before. This is a general moderating group. This is a panel discussion. So I'm doing a focus group, a panel discussion after the rally. And then I'm going to do the focus group to see if there was anything said at the rally that changes their minds.
I mean, either way, this is a panel right here, man. I would love to check into this. I'm publicly very critical of Tim Scott. Have been for a while, but I will say I can give him some kudos for hopping on this panel.
We shall see. I think he's gonna dial in like you are. So we'll see.
Okay, yeah, I'm interested in this one for sure.
All right, sir. Thank you. Anything else you want to say about? I think there's hope. I think as we move into that, I think there's momentum now on the Harris side. That's all I'll have to say.
I think there's some momentum on the Harris side as well. We touched on some of the numbers, particularly among Black men. So, we're coming out with a poll in a couple of days here. If anybody follows me on Instagram or TikTok, it's Das Discourse. I'll be talking about what we're seeing in the next couple of days in these swing states. But other than that, I'm just wishing you luck, Don. I want to see you on a bike next time when you're interviewing these folks, or like one of those Segways, it's the scooters things. I want to see you on.
I had to go to scooter at Howard, and there are too many hills, and I'm too old. I can't break a hip at this point. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, sir.
See you soon. We appreciate it. Josh Doss, everyone. Okay, it's a condensed show. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And I hate to give you a short show, but make sure you hit the thumbs up, please. Make sure you hit the likes. We have a lot of folks watching and not nearly enough thumbs up. So thank you so much. And every day, our engagement, our viewership increase, and we're so happy that is happening. So make sure you subscribe. It's free. If you're on TikTok, make sure you follow us and hit the heart. And check out I cannot believe every day, more and more people, hey, I've been watching your videos. I love them. I love them. I love them. They are even saying, go check it out. Go look for yourself and you'll see. Some people are saying they're anxiety inducing. And then, but for the most part, folks are saying they are not, and they think they're very informative. So we're really happy about that. Okay. So thank you guys so much for joining. I will see you tomorrow morning at 10. Hopefully we're on the road. We're heading to Pennsylvania. And we're in DC now, and so we will have some more stuff for you. Okay, so be well, have a great evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern, so there's plenty of content for you to check out.